Hey, what's up? This is Marcus from Theftuous, and you're listening to the boys from the Vulgar Display of Podcast.
Welcome to the Vulgar Display of Podcasts. I have Twan Anthony. How's it going?
Yo, what's going on?
This one's a special one, Twan. I know you know this.
I'm excited. I can't be more excited.
So we have Marcus from Theftuous online right now. Marcus, what's up, brother?
What's going on? Good to hear from you guys.
And I call you brother, and it's pretty much that, isn't it? We've had a friendship and a brotherhood that's lasted. How many years are we going on now?
23.
23 years.
It'll be 23, yeah. It'll be 23 in the new year, so we met in 2000, man.
We're not young spring chickens anymore, are we?
No, we're not. We're not, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm cool with that.
People know you from Theftuous now, your new band, and a band that's going to be releasing an album soon that we are pumped about. We've actually played it on a few of our Vulgar Display of Podcast episodes. We are pumped about that, and we're going to get into a little bit of that later. But I would say a lot of your music career was revolved around the band Relative Ash back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. Actually, it was mid-90s into the early 2000s, yeah.
And you guys are you're Chicago through and through, right? Southside Chicago.
Yes. Yeah, we are Chicago, the Stockyards. That is Chicago. You can see the Sears Tower from the streets. If you step out on the street in certain blocks, you can hear fireworks from Comiskey Park when Sox would hit a home run. You know, Stockyards, that's where everything was, man. That's how people made a living. We were not from the suburbs. We are not from the south suburbs, not Mount Greenwood. We were from Chicago. There's a lot of bands that would say they're from Chicago and they lived in like fucking New Lenox and shit, or Aurora.
Yeah. So anything else you want to say about Disturbed?
Oh, no, Disturbed? No, I got love for Disturbed.
Oh, okay, I'll just tease you. Yeah, south side of Chicago, Canaryville, right? Me and Twan have actually visited your neighborhood.
Stomping grounds up there.
Yeah, several times.
That is correct, Canaryville. I love that place. A lot of support from the Canaryville people and our friends back in the day when we played shows, and it was outstanding. I love that place. My family, that's where my family hails from. My friends, not all my friends, but the ones that came up at grade school and the ones I did a bunch of wrong shit with at first and all that. So, you know.
I'll have that.
Yeah, and I met my musical companions there. So, you know, we're Relative Ash. And a band before that was called the Circus Peanuts, which started with like a brother, not my cousin, but Tim Barrett and Juan Hernandez, 3-piece band. That was my first band before Relative Ash. Yeah. So yeah, everything started there, man.
You know, this interview is a little bit different for me and Twan Anthony here because we know you so well. I mean, we know a little bit about your story, but I know that you grew up skateboard culture and music culture and even a little bit of art. You know, did that influence you as far as like your musical background goes?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you say that. Like Suicidal Tendencies, DRI, Murphy's Law, Slayer. I mean, I used to skate to all these bands. And, you know, Suicidal Tendencies are intertwined with all of that. Like, you know, that California, that West Coast. I mean, they were all skaters. Like, you know, or they were affiliated with skaters. I mean, Dogtown. Yeah. Dogtown had, you know, the Lords of Dogtown, that movie, like Jay Adams, The Seed, Stacy Peralta. I mean, it goes Tony Alva. It goes on and on. That's all West Coast. So yeah, man, we would skate. We'd be playing punk music. You know what I mean? As we're going off ramps or just street skating and going different events like that, different neighborhoods. You know, all affiliated with music. If we were skating, we were listening. You know, this is when boom boxes were still around and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I always thought, we're from the St. Louis area. You know that. You've been to my house before. But I always thought, being from the Midwest, that was sort of a cool thing about it, is like we would be influenced by both coasts. We would be influenced by East Coast stuff, would get that, and West Coast stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm influenced by East Coast too. Have been, you know.
Right.
I mean, Hatebreed, you know, Hatebreed, Biohazard. I mean, Glassjaw, who we met. You know, we met them as we were doing our thing, but now I am influenced by them. Those are some great guys, you know. Love those guys. Hey, and some cats from Missouri, you know.
Jeez.
I mean, I'm speaking to them right now. So
you formed Relative Ash at some point. Tell us how that all came about.
Well, I was telling you about the first band I was in here. It was called Circus Peanuts. We started playing shows with a band called Myron that Junior was actually in before he joined Relative Ash. My cousin JP and other guys from the neighborhood. And we were this 3-piece band, and we started doing some covers, and we were like, fuck it, let's write our own songs. So we wrote 3 songs in like a month. And that basically started it, because we were like, all right, now we're writing our own music. You know what I mean? Yeah. And something happened. Some people fell off from the, you know, not because it was a bad thing or turmoil, but you know how it happens with bands, or, you know, okay, you know, I don't want to do this anymore or that. And I went to a party, a punk rock party, as a matter of fact, at 35th Street Studio in Chicago. And I'm a huge, you're talking about influences, right? I'm a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan. And at one point I sounded just like Billy Corgan, and I still do at times, but there was having this huge party, and someone comes and says, hey man, there's these 2 brothers that are in this room and they want to play Bullet with Butterfly Wings, bro. You got to sing it. But the thing is, I remember this, I mean, sort of, because we were having a good time, put it that way. But I do remember seeing Carlos. You know, that's how I met Carlos, and how I met Johnny was there. And Johnny was like 13 years old, and his brother had him out. You know, his mom and dad let him go out and shit. And it was after hours too. And we jammed that song, and Carlos got my number, which was a landline at the time because there was no cell phones. And I was in between bands, and I didn't even have the name Relative Ash yet, which that's a cool story too that will come up. But I would run into Carlos, like he would call my house, hey man, let's start a band, bro. This and that. And I was like, I don't know, you know, because I just got out of the one, and I didn't even know how I started that when it just happened. So I didn't even really know how to start a band, you know what I mean? And then I would run into him at Guitar Center. I ran into him at Guitar Center a few times. The strangest places. Going out to get food one day at the South Side at a fast food place. It just kept happening. So then I was like, all right, why don't you just come to my house? I'm working on these songs. And I literally had him come into my bedroom. I lived with my uncle. And I had a full PA in the bedroom, like speakers on top of dressers and stuff. It was insane. You could hardly sit or stand in this place. And I played him a couple songs, and he's like, why don't we just do this? And that's how it started. Along with the fact that we didn't have the name yet, along with the fact that I wrote down on a flyer with the fetus. So I wrote the name down. I printed out like 10 or 20 of these flyers with a beautiful fetus, like, and it had all the in utero colors, with the purples and the pinks and the baby blues and the dark blues, right? Just a beautiful picture of a fetus. And I wrote Relative Ash on either side of it. So no matter how you turned it around, you would read the name. One was upside down, the other one was right side up. So if you flipped it, you're still going to have it right side up, and you're going to see this name.
Oh, wow.
So I go into my cousin JP's studio in his band, this Myron, and I had a stack of these flyers, and my band was over now. So he's like, what are these? I said, it's my band. And he's like, well, who's in it? And I was just like, me. That's it. and he's like, what? And I mean, I was talking to Carlos, and that's how we actually took the step to actually start writing. And then he said, well, my brother plays drums, bro. And he takes me to his house. I said, what, that young kid? That's your brother? Yeah, man. So I'm thinking, and how the fuck are we going to pull this off? You know what I mean? With a young kid drum. And I can't even really remember how he played. And he takes me to his house, and he plays, what was it? Everlong. They play Everlong, and this kid blew my fucking mind. And this kid, you know, remember Johnny was always smiling and shit with his big old ears and shit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, holy shit. It's like you knew what you were seeing and witnessing, and I knew that he had the goods, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then we got Chuck, and Junior wasn't involved yet. It was just us, and I was playing guitar and singing. And I mean, things just progressed. Like first of all, for me going to just singing, it was so simple and innocent. I broke a guitar string. I broke my low E string. And Carlos was just like, sing, bro. We got to practice, bro. And when I got the mic in my hand, everything changed. Like I was already doing like screaming and stuff like that, right? But then as soon as I just had the mic, something came out and Chuck stopped everything. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. He goes, you're not playing guitar no more. You got to do that. And that's how the sound happened, and that's how everything was birthed right there. Almost like an old school Civil War birth in a bathtub or some shit. You know what I mean? It was just so natural and so raw, man.
And once you had that mic in your hand, and I know how important your lyrics are to you, did that just, it felt like a glove, it just fit?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and to me, it was like, holy shit. Even me, it was like, I found something new. Like, I couldn't wait to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I couldn't. I remember when I went home that night, I was just thinking about this last night. I went home that night, and I was afraid when I was going to go to sleep that I wasn't going to be able to do it when I woke up again. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know if I can do that again. So what I did is went down to my grandma's basement and started screaming and shit just to see if I could still do it. I mean, it's so innocent, you know? I mean, I was only 22 at the time, you know? I'm actually smiling right now. It's crazy thinking back on all that.
We are too, man. We're glad to have you. We got Marcus here from Theftuous, Relative Ash, Duna Hill, all those things that you've been a part of all these years that we've been a fan of, been having your back for a while, and I know you have ours, and we appreciate that friendship.
Absolutely.
From that point where you grabbed the mic to the album coming out, how many years did that process? How many years in between those?
96. It happened like a couple months later. Like, yeah, I mean, that's. I was trying to think of that, like the exact timeline, but it's hard to because it happened quick. Like we did a demo before the 3-song demo that people call it, which was Barnes Charmed at 5:30. We did this demo where I was still on guitar, and it was night and day. Like the difference, like the tenacity, everything, like how deep it was, the depth was ridiculous. But there's a band called Kindred that are phenomenal. Like I still look up to them. And buddies of mine, they said, "Hey man, my buddy Brian O'Malley at the time is not, now his name is Brian Cannon. He changed his last name to his real last name, his dad's last name. Amazing musician, by the way. Terry Moran and the singer Larry, unbelievable guys, and Tony with their drummer, unbelievable guys. They were rehearsing down the hall, and they're like, "Hey man, we did this demo, and his name is Johnny K." And we were looking to do a demo, so we ended up going into the studio with him, and that's when we did the 3-song demo in 2 days, which changed our whole lives. So basically, it did happen like in a flash, like a blink of an eye, you know?
Yeah, and those 3 songs ended up obviously on the album, and Bounce being one of, I would say, probably your most popular one, right?
I don't know if it was the most popular, but yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it was the most popular. Along with 5:30 though, too, man. 5:30 was. A lot of people hail that tune, you know? So.
Yeah, the Bounce is definitely popular with me, just because of the lyric. This is raw emotion. See my friends bouncing with me. Man, when you hear that, and especially when you hear it live, if you're not having a good time with that and knowing how to feel that lyric, and you know, being around your friends, being around good vibes, good people, good drinks, that's something that always sticks out from the RA shows that I've seen.
That's how you put it is exactly, I mean, you're right on, dead on with it. Because when I look back, I mean, I don't look down on this song, but lyrically it was like my least, it was almost like mainstream for me as far as lyrics, you know what I mean? Which is fine. Because you look at 5:30, Good Form, 6 Miles, this little innocent thing was like surrounded by monsters, you know what I mean? But that's when I first really started writing. Like that was just a song because I found this new thing, this new groove. Like I had a mic in my hand. I started like, I didn't even know I could move like that. I didn't think I had rhythm until I had a mic in my hand. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh shit, I'm doing this whole new thing. Like, so, but that song, yeah, that's what that song was all about though. And I love that song now. I mean, I always have. I mean, I honestly think if that song was pushed, I wouldn't be sitting on this patio right now. You know what I mean? You might be interviewing me. Fuck, who knows? You know what I mean? It could be a whole different fucking thing.
Admittedly, Bounce isn't my favorite Relative Ash song. There's definitely deeper cuts that are sort of more emotional, at least to me, in the way I take the lyrics and the
Still
song.
Still a great song, though. Still a great song.
But I kind of look at it as like the gateway drug, right? If you're going to get into Relative Ash, it typically starts with that. And I also think, you bring up the 3-song sampler. Kids these days, they don't have that, and they don't realize how important those samplers that you would get were to that time period and street teams, and even like something as silly as stickers and all that scene. And I remember Relative Ash being pushed out with those samplers and being handed out after shows that you guys might not even been playing where maybe other bands were.
I remember that. I actually still have some. I have a chest in mine and Crystal and my place. I actually have it, man. Do you still have that? It was like a sampler. Do you have that CD anymore? If you don't have it, I have a copy. I'll give it to you guys. You can put it up inside the barn.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we'll take it,
man.
It's
still in the sleeve, man.
Oh, wow.
It was something an Island did, like as a promotional tool. And I still have it, man. I'm letting go of all things. So, yeah, I better you guys have it. You guys can put it up in the barn, man. I think that would be cool.
And I will say that there is a little bit of you up in the barn right now. We actually have an old Duna Hill set list that all you guys signed for me.
Hanging from
who knows?
It could have been from Bourbon, could have been from Farmington, could have been from Chicago.
I think it had to be from that Bourbon show, man, when we played that. Remember when I almost got arrested?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When we all about did, yeah. But yeah, we have it hanging up.
Hey, real quick, how did that go down? Wasn't I like yelling at the cops or some shit like that?
That sounds familiar too.
Yeah, but you also that was also the trip that you guys kind of got separated from us. We asked you to follow us so you knew where to go, and then all of a sudden you guys we got lost from each other.
There's a video floating around of that, man. That was a good set. We did like the second the Murder of Darling Rose songs, like Darling and yeah. There's a video floating around of that shit.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. I don't feel like I'm being interviewed. I feel like I'm just hanging out with you guys.
Talking about old times.
You kind of are. Can we talk about some of the tours that Relative Ash was on?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the very first one might have been the X Games tour with like Simon Says, and I think maybe even Clutch was on that. Is that right?
I think we did play with Clutch at the Metro several times. I'm trying to think if they were on it. I'm not sure if they were on it. I was trying to figure it out. Simon Says was definitely on it. I know that for a fact. There were other bands that dropped on and off, but we did the whole tour with Simon Says. And that was our first big anything, man. It was like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, we had day jobs and Johnny was still in school.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, like I would have to go. I worked at a place called the Backdrop Outlet. I was painting backdrops for photography on Michigan Avenue. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be gone. Where are you going? To California with my band. They're like, what? We're on the X Games. We're playing the Troubadour. They're like, I never knew what the Troubadour was, until we sold it out, which was insane. Like,
you don't hear that very much.
Nope.
No, I mean, I knew what it was after that night. That's for fucking sure,
Yeah.
But that's the place John Lennon walked into with a tampon taped on his forehead. Famous Lost Weekend, they called it.
A lot of things went down on that strip.
But yeah, that was our first tour, man, and we did it successfully. We didn't miss a show. We traveled in the Salazar family van, and we did it. And that led us to be signed through Island Def Jam, man. We did the Troubadour. I guess they wanted to see if we were going to be able to hang with the big dogs, I guess. But we had a sold-out show. And I'll never forget that show. We fucking smashed it. We killed that show. We were so tight by that point, Yeah, it was great. And then we played Santa Barbara the next weekend, and they took us out to dinner and told us to come to New York and sign some papers.
Wow. Sort of
And the rest is history, bro.
sort of the scene that you see in the movies, right? Come to New York and sign these papers.
Absolutely. They brought us to Rob Stevenson, who went on to sign the Killers, Fall Out Boy, blah, blah, blah. And the guy who signed Britney Spears was a part of it, too. Yeah, I remember calling my mom from a payphone and being like, we did it. She's like, what do you mean you did it? I said, we got signed. I said, we're on the same label as Eric Clapton. She's like, what? Bob Marley.
Relatable.
Fucking Jay-Z. Fucking Run DMC. LL Cool J. She was like, are you fucking bullshitting me? I'm like, no, this is for real. I'll see you in a week when we get home. Yeah. It's such a magical story, man, you know? And then it got real dark, but we'll get to that too.
You know, and then after that, I think at some point, you know, you're on tour with the Taproots and the Seven Dust, and
those were the one-offs. Yeah, those were like after we recorded the record, then they put us out like sheep amongst the wolves. You know what I mean? Basically, I got a funny story about that too. Yeah, man, we were put out there to just see if we can hang. You know what I mean? And Taproot was one of the first ones, and we played. I think it was Toledo, Ohio, the main event with Taproot. And this is before they started doing those, you know, the harmonies and all that. They were more like a Limp Bizkit, if you remember that. Because Limp Bizkit is the one who found them. Fred Durst found them. And we played that show with them, and that was our first show, like besides the X Games, like the real deal. And then the next day, we were supposed to go with Seven Dust in Columbus, Ohio. And that's when we first met Seven Dust, which changed the whole fucking game for us. Because LeJean, Clint, everybody in that band were like super cool, man. And there's a really cool story behind that too, because Clint, I think it was, even in 1 Minute Silence, guys, there was a roadie with 1 Minute Silence that said that there's a likeness between me and Lynn, he said. And I never met Lynn straight. And he was wild, you know, and I was so quiet back then. But he had said something like that, like, there's something about you, you know, and they gravitated towards that, which is a compliment to me. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that was someone, that's a soul that was needed elsewhere, or else he wouldn't have been taken like that. You know what I mean? So I'm raising a glass to Lynn Straight and Snot.
Hey, we're with
Seven
you.
Dust,
Yep.
and 1 Minute Silence.
1 Minute Silence, and we'll talk a little bit about them later on.
Oh, yeah.
But man, we've brought this up before on this podcast. Is like they sort of got lumped into sort of that new metal rap thing scene, you know, part of some of those.
Yeah, they were nowhere near. They were nowhere near like new metal rap, like rock. That's so weird.
I just think they were like one of the most underrated bands of that time, and especially that second album. And I remember you like actually coming out and doing like a guest vocal spot on Holy Man, which is a song I love.
Yep.
Yes, dude. You know why? There's a story. First of all, let me explain these guys to you. Me and Massey had this conversation a couple months back. Massey was the youngest one there, you know. I think he was 19 at the time. And Massey's like, he's like, mate, do you know how fucking exciting but how scary it was to be surrounded by fucking 3 lunatics? I was like, yeah. I was like, absolutely, bro, because I would go on their bus and Eddie would be reading a book on, like, I don't know, I mean, something so deep. He would come out of the corridor where your bunks are, and he would sit down and ask me a question. And I remember he asked me a question about something, and he did. And you know when you're young and you don't mean any harm, but you're just trying to be like, you know, you don't want to look stupid or uncool, so you say you know what it means, but you really don't.
Sure.
Been there.
But yeah, me too. But most people don't call you out on it. But what it was is a test, and I said, no, I don't know. And this girl that was on the bus, one of their fans, he said, oh, yeah. So Eddie goes, well, then tell me about it. And she goes, well, I mean, Eddie goes, well, I'm reading the book right now. It's right in my hand, so you need to quote this right now. And she, like, started, like, tearing up and crying. And Eddie goes, and he said, the same for you, Marcus, just in case because you look like you were on the spot, too. And Yap said, he goes, if you don't know something, the person asking you will literally educate you, and then you will walk away knowing what exactly what it means. And it could take 5 minutes, it could take an hour, depending on the topic. But then you will walk away and know what it means. Don't ever be afraid to say you don't know. These guys were, I mean, like, getting back to the whole, like, them being lumped into rap metal is garbage. That's complete horseshit. Because if you knew anything about Yap, and if you watch his, he had his podcast called Yap the World. He's on YouTube, and he's so intelligent. The whole band is intelligent. Unbelievable. Yap should have been on stage with a fucking Molotov cocktail bomb and a burning Bible in his hand. He wasn't rap rock. He was an intelligent person trying to educate the world before the internet and telling them what was really going on. If you look at their album cover with the devil, with the dollar bills, the woman, you know, he was ahead of his time. He was older too, man. He's in his 50s now. He was older on that tour. You know, I mean, I was 24. Like, I didn't even have a hair on my face yet. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is so knowledgeable and intelligent, but radical. Like, Holy Man came about because he's like, Marcus, I see you wear your fucking cross. He says, you wear your fucking cross all the time. He goes, do you believe in that cross? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's shite. And he said, well, I have a song called Holy Man. He goes, I'm going to be the devil and you're going to be God. It's not going to happen every night, but I'm going to call you up. And we did it several times, man. And I totally understood what he was getting at. And now I really understand what he means, because I was afraid not to believe in God, you know. Right. And there was a time when I damned him, you know, where I questioned this. How could you let, like, the simple thing where it's like, how could you let these things happen, like, just to people you love, or groups of people, or babies, or, you know, women, you know. Yap was on that shit, man, and he was trying to educate me, you know. He brought me in to do Holy Man because he was trying to show me something, teach me something.
And you actually introduced me to Yap, like, on a personal level, and you sort of prefaced it by saying, hey, man, you need to prepare yourself for the conversation you're getting ready to have. And I'm like, you know, took offense to that. I'm like, you know, the ego inside of me, like, oh, I got college degrees. I can have a conversation with anybody. And you're like, no. Yap's on another philosophical level that you need to kind of try to keep up on. And we actually ended up doing a written interview with Yap that we're going to publish at some point. And man, I took a lot away from that conversation, and I agree. That dude is.
Oh man, he is.
I've said it before on this podcast. That band had more in common with Rage Against the Machine than they did Limp Bizkit.
Sure.
Exactly. Oh, that's a no-brainer. I mean, in their words and how they conducted themselves, especially when they were younger, I'm going to say it like this: they would have, like, damned that whole situation. Like, they would have been like, you know, fuck off. You know what I mean? I mean, dude, it was just. Yeah, and by the way, there is another song on the EP that's being mixed right now. It's called Automatic Happiness. Yap is guest. He has a guest appearance again. If you think Entity is good, wait till you fucking hear this song. It is insane. I just listened to it today, actually. It's insane. Imagine going down in your basement and mixing a bunch of things up like Grandpa Munster. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and yeah, except for this time, it's like nail bombs and shit.
So while we're talking about 1 Minute Silence, they actually were on a same tour as you, along with Slipknot, Slayer, Seven Dust, Hatebreed, talking about Tattoo the Earth. What a shit show of a tour that was, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you read that book?
You know, it's great. It's getting the recognition it deserves right now, though, with that book.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Caravan of Pain. Because what it was because we were supposed to be on Ozfest, but they put Primer on Ozfest, so they put us on Tattoo. And I'll tell you what, I'm more proud to be a part of that. And by the way, Relative Ash was the first notes to be played for Tattoo the Earth in Portland.
Cool.
We were the first band. We were the first notes to play for that tour. And at that same show, Stone Temple Pilots headlined it.
Oh, wow.
And I got to meet Scott Weiland. And I shook Scott's hand. And the only thing I was preparing myself, because here's the thing. They gave us these passes, and I was like, well, where can I go? He goes, you can go anywhere you want. This is your pass. Like, you're on this tour. And I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You go on the side of the stage.
Are you sure?
So I'm literally, they had a camper, right? So it was like 20 yards away. And this is after we played. We were the first band. It was like 11 o'clock or 12 or some shit. So I'm looking at the camper. I was leaning on, you know, the aluminum bars that you get, you know, those erected stages to where, you know, they take the steps up. And I'm just looking at it like I was waiting to get like a baseball signature from fucking Ken Griffey or some shit. And they come out, and here's Scott, no shirt on. He got into that stage where he's wearing like pink boas and leather gloves and shit. You know, full on rock star, bro. David Bowie times 12. You know, like, and he's walking up, and I was planning on saying what I wanted to say was, "Hey, bro, Purple changed my life. It's one of the best records I've ever heard in my life. Your lyrics are unbelievable on that record." And it really is, to this day, one of my favorite. It's one of the most untouchable records ever made. And here's what I said to him. Hey, Scott. And he's like, "What's up, bro?" I said, "Give him hell." That's all I can say. That's all I can say.
It works.
But I wanted to get like so much more deep about it, and I couldn't do it because I was awestruck, you know. And then he went up and he ripped into Cracker Man, like just smashed. Yeah, Cracker Man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember like even Metallica played maybe the New York show or something, that there occasionally, you know, a larger headlining act would join that tour, like for one-offs or something.
Well, I was about to say, that was the other one, was that when we were in New York at Giant Stadium. We didn't play in Giant Stadium. We played outside. But I do have a picture I want to send you. And if you want to post this picture, you can do it. And it only shows... Oh, I could send it to you after we do this. We were in the parking lot, but Metallica. So we shared a bill with Metallica too, which is Jesus Christ, bro. I mean, come on.
Right.
I mean, dude, you know what I mean?
I'd put that on my resume forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Oh, it's on my resume, bro. You know what? It's not on my resume, bro. Fuck a resume. You know what it's on? It's on my sleeve, bro. It's in my skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like. It's still when Newstead was still with them. You know what I mean? Like, and he was the only one I ran into was Jason Newstead. He was walking around. Everyone else was hiding out and shit. But, yeah, man, we played outside, but the whole parking lot, did you ever see those shows like Led Zeppelin shows or yada yada, where the people just look like colored dots, like a painting, like that famous painting of the people in the park where they did it with just like drops. That's what it looked like. There was thousands of people, bro. And I remember I could see them, but then when I jumped up on the stage, we only had a 20-minute set. I remember I turned around and told Chuck, I'm like, holy fucking shit, bro. Like, and it was broad daylight out too, broad daylight. Like, I've never been nervous, more excited. I wasn't nervous then, but I literally had to like take a breath. I'm doing it right now because I can still picture it. We killed it. We fucking killed it that day. And I have a really good picture, man. And you can see, I mean, there was thousands of people, thousands, bro. Yeah, it's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, you got to send us that picture. We're going to post it with this video.
Absolutely, I'll do it right when we're done with this. I'll do it 100%.
You know the thing about because me and Twan and Bushwhack, you know, our good buddy that you know well, another brother of yours.
Yes. Oh yeah, Bushwhack.
We attended Tattoo the Earth in Lawrence, Kansas, and the craziest thing about it was
somebody died that day, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
got it in the book.
It was a mess.
You remember that, right? You remember that?
I didn't remember it until I read it in the book. Actually, I don't even think we knew that happened.
I didn't.
It was during I think it was during when we played. No, because we would play and then you go 15 minutes into the other bands. That's how second stages work.
Yep.
You go 50 minutes in. Remember how hot it was, bro?
I do remember that. And
it was it was a dust cloud too.
Yeah.
Like,
and one of the craziest things was like the second stage, because they were so rushed and unorganized that some of the bands only played like one or two songs.
Yeah, I remember Spineshank only sped out like 3 songs.
That day, people got screwed that day. Yeah, man.
And I remember the bands being pretty upset about it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a mess.
But I also read in the book that some of those side bands kind of invited themselves along the tour, and they just followed it, and they ended up playing it. Like Spineshank, they were never booked. They just showed up and they started playing, and they just let it happen.
Yeah, and there was a band called Famous that was like touring with it, but they never played.
And
shit like that.
Yeah, we met that singer guy because he was in a band called Down or Drown or something.
Tall guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drown. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Drown. I actually seen Drown with Limp Bizkit and Deftones in 1997 for a Round of Fur, bro, in Chicago at the Metro.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, it was Will. No, we played with Drown. I'm sorry, that's what it was. That tour, though, Will Haven played with Deftones and Limp Bizkit. But we did play with Drown a few times.
And then, you know, I know we're talking a lot about Tattoo the Earth, but like Amen was on that tour too. Yeah. And
oh man,
I think they was like played every other third show or something. Yeah. I mean, some of that was them because it was a little bit of a train wreck themselves, but
yeah, they put on a hell of a show.
They were awesome though. You had to watch out for Casey because he would like, you know the mic stands where it's got the plate at the bottom. He would pick it up and just throw it.
Yeah, because we talked our way into handing out stickers and shit while they played. So we were like behind the stage and behind the barricade.
I got a great story.
And we were just throwing stickers out and shit. And there's literally chaos behind us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that dude, I'm a huge fan of that band and that guy. But, you know, that sort of, and I know you're a fan of the Iggy Pops and the Stooges, you know, just reminded me of that throwback to
absolutely
to some of those punk days.
Can I tell you a great story about that?
God, yes.
All right. So the Mudvayne tour after Tattoo, because we went right into LD50 after Tattoo. We got our record release on August 15th, which is the love of my life's birthday, actually, which is strange, right? Our Time With You came out on August 15th, and it's Crystal's birthday, actually, which is coming right up. We were on tour we're doing one-offs with Nothing Face, Mudvayne, I forgot who else it was. And we were supposed to play, it was right before a Madison show. Well, actually we were in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we got invited back to this party, like this huge party. You know, some fans of ours in Mudvayne are like, dude, we got this fucking huge like ex-frat house coming to the party and this and that. We're like, yeah, fuck it. So we go there, and I'm drinking, and, you know, remember me, I used to like to have a good time.
Sure.
So I'm like, man, I don't feel good. I was telling Junior, he goes, what's wrong? I said, man, my stomach, I just can't drink. I feel bloated. Like, so I go back to the hotel, and he was like, you good, bro? What the fuck? And I'm like, I don't feel good. So I go back to the hotel, and we're in the sticks, right? We're in the sticks. So I get up, and I go to use the bathroom, and I piss blood. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, oh, no. Like, I started freaking out. So you remember our tour manager, Dan Matt? He looks like Al Roker. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he hated me. That guy hated me. So I would disappear, bro. Like, for bus calls and shit, I'd be like, I don't even know where I was at. He just hated me. So I'm banging on his door. I'm like, listen, I got to go to the hospital. He's like, why? I was like, well, blood came out of somewhere, and he goes, okay, let's go. He goes, you do realize
yeah, that sounds serious.
Like, you do realize like 45 minutes away, right? And I'm like, I don't care. We got to go, man. And the pain was excruciating. So I remember what I had on, bro. I had a cut-off pair of Dickies, no socks, a pair of Chucks on, and guess what shirt I had on?
What'd you have?
Cops suck cocks.
Of course.
The Amen shirt.
Yeah.
Now check this out. When I ran into the hospital, there was like 15 cops.
Of course there are.
Listen, bro. They looked at me like they wanted to fucking kill me, bro. And I'm like banging on the counter, like, I need help. Something's going on. Like, I need to get like a culture. I need everything. Like, you need to like check everything. And she goes, what are your symptoms, honey? I was like, I'm bloated. I'm in the worst pain of my life. You know, I'm fucking pissing blood, this and that. I was like, something's up. And I'm a singer in a rock band. And she goes, honey, you got a kidney stone. That's what she said. Oh. And all the cops are looking at me like, you motherfucker. And I never like hid the shirt. I never hid the shirt, but I just thought it was a great story, you know. There's 2 days later, we played Madison, right? And Nothing Face it was the Mudvayne tour, but Nothing Face jumped on like some bands do. So Matt Holt came up to me, bro. And he goes, hey, bro, I heard you had some issues with, you know, down below and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a kidney stone. He goes, yeah. He goes, are you sure it wasn't gonorrhea, bro? That's what he said.
Shit.
The singer from Nothing Face. No, Nothing Face, Matt Holt. That's what he said. He goes, because listen, bro, I had it, man. I had it, and I tried to pass it off on a bunch of other shit. Like, he had his arm around me, and I'm like, listen, bro, I got this yarmulke strainer for a reason, and I don't think they give this to people for gonorrhea. You know what I'm saying?
Man, we lost a good one when we lost Matt, right?
Matt was like us, man. He was so far removed from being a rock star or anything like that. He was just a regular dude. He was super quiet, but he had a voice on him, man. Like, it was just, I remember we played, I think it was Baltimore, right? Was their hometown? Wasn't it Baltimore?
Yep, it was.
Well, we played their home venue, man. And what was the name of that song, that popular song, Your Eyes See Me? What was that?
Grinning, maybe?
Yes, that tune. I remember being on the side of the stage and just watching him singing, and I remember, like, I've never second guessed myself, but I second guessed myself because I was just like, holy shit. His voice was so powerful, man. It was so good. And he wasn't one-sided. He was like multi-talented. He had different colors, you know. I miss that guy.
Yeah, we lost one with Matt. I love Nothing Face, man, back then. And I think you guys had a lot in common because he would often give that emotional sort of
exactly.
That emotional presence about him.
That's I'm telling you, Chad, what you just said, I witnessed and felt. I can remember. I was just like, holy, he made me second guess what I was doing, and not second guess, but maybe I need to add a little more. You know what I mean? Like, dig a little. And here's me saying I needed to dig deeper. So that says some shit. You know what I mean? Like, shit.
Yeah, I met him. The one time I met him was actually behind the old Creepy Crawl in St. Louis. And when I walked up to him, he looked at me and he goes, "You know I'm not in Amen, right?" Because it was a Amen Nothing Face show. I was like, "No, I know exactly who you are, brother."
I bet he was humbled, right?
He was.
Because that's how he was, man. Yeah. God rest his soul, man. I miss that guy.
Absolutely, man. We've lost a lot of great ones along the way.
Absolutely. We sure did.
Yeah.
Speaking of Creepy Crawl, yeah.
So
are we about to get into that right now?
Yeah,
I got enough drinks in me. I might need a tissue.
Probably should. I mean, that's where me and your friendship started. I was actually in college, close to St. Louis, pretty close to the Creepy Crawl. And it was like a Tuesday night. I didn't have anything to do, and I went down to the old Creepy. I knew of you guys, and I had heard of you guys because of that sampler, I think. And, man, I was just blown away by that performance. And me and you ended up bonding over the album and lyrics and loss of loved ones. And just ever since that night, man, I mean, we've been like family. And you, when I say you're like a brother to me, I mean it.
Chad, I'm sitting here right now, as Crystal is my witness. Like, I mean, after all these years, like, I mean, we're feeling the same love right now, man. I mean, that's pretty. It's rare, man. You know, like, especially because I met hundreds of people on a daily basis, different people, man. But the thing is, only a few of them have had a profound effect on me, and it's still lasting. And you are number one. Twan, you guys are like, I mean, you need to know that, man. Like, you know, you guys aren't even brothers. You're more than that. It's just we don't have a word for it yet, you know?
Yeah, that's why it's a little awkward interviewing you. It's like interviewing my mom or dad or something, you know, like it's kind of awkward to do it in a professional way. But yeah, our friendship means a lot. When I call you my brother, I mean that. And you know how me and my friends are. I mean, most of my friends I've been friends with since freaking elementary, or I'm related to them. So it's like, I don't open up with friendships very often. So when we connected on that Creepy Crawl night, and then pretty much anytime you were ever in town after that, it was always something special to me. And that album meant a lot to me because I just went through the loss of one of my best friends. And, you know, our time with you was such theme throughout that was loss and trying to cope with loss, you know, at least the way I took it. So we connected on that level that you don't find very much.
Let me ask you this. I remember your friend passed because for some reason, because obviously just, you know, me, you know, Crystal she asked a lot of questions, and, you know, because she's grew up like 3 blocks from me, like literally. She was around for all of this. I was telling her about a show at Creepy Crawl where because she was always asking, how could you stage dive like that and this and that? And I'm just like, I used to love it. Like, you remember that, man? I'd be in that motherfucker all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, to me, it was punk rock, you know, and I loved it. But the creepy crawl that night, I literally remember being literally vertical, but upside down. And I remember my feet walking on the ceiling, bro. It was the craziest shit.
That was that night. Yeah.
That was that night. I thought it was the Galaxy for some reason, but the Galaxy is when we met again. Now I remember.
Yeah, the Galaxy is the one where you fell off the stage.
What?
You don't remember that?
Wait, what?
You put your foot up on the monitor, and the monitor went tumbling over, and you went crashing down right in the front of the barricade.
I fell off many stages, bro. I fell through stages, bro, if you believe that.
Yeah, I think you were jumping off the monitor, and then the monitor moved.
Monitor moved, and you went crashing down.
But the one thing that sticks is the fact that, you know, and this is the truth about things. Like, you know, you see things and people calling, you know, quote unquote rock stars, like, oh, they didn't have time for me and this and that. He's a dick and this. The schedule is so nuts. You don't sleep because you get off the stage and you're telling yourself that night, like, man, with the exception of Dimebag Darrell. Dimebag Darrell was every single fucking night on 10, 20, which I never met. I wish we would have met them. If we were on Ozfest that year, I probably think I'd probably be his best friend. But you have these nights where you get tired, you get irritated, you might be sick, and people don't realize that you played fucking 60 fucking shows, but all they're counting on is that show that night. They don't realize that. So what blows my mind, and I've always been a person like I how dare I say Dimebag Darrell, but that kind of soul or presence. So we played that show, and you told me about your buddy, and your buddy. How did your buddy pass?
It was a car wreck.
It was a car crash.
Yep.
And me and you sat and spoke on that loading dock. It was a loading dock. I remember that. And it was loading dock, right?
Yeah.
Any creepy crawl?
Yeah. We actually spoke before and after.
Yes. But afterwards is when we connected, like, bam. Like, I sat back there with you and spoke to you like I've known you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've known you it's amazing, man. And then now here we are now. It's, you know, and then you introduced me to people like Twan. Twan, you're my brother, man. I love you, Twan. I miss you. You've had an impact on my life as much as I've had an impact on your life. I want you to know that.
Thanks, man.
You need to know that.
I do.
And the boys love you, all of them. Chuck and Whack and Dick and Dwayne and John, all those guys love you, man. And you know they always had your back and supported you.
Dick, rest in peace, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's strange, right? Like, you think about the name Relative Ash, and Dick's gone now.
Yep.
It's heavy, man.
So if we bring up my cousin Dick, we got to talk about Doona Hill, though. Doona Hill was, man, I still think to this day, and I know we're very close, so I might be partial, but I think that was the greatest unsigned band that I've ever heard. I absolutely love everything you put out with Doona Hill. That was special.
Yeah, it was special, man. And we almost actually got there. We played. Yeah, it was a great thing. Like, it's super hard for two singers to actually make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.